And this really is the link to the lab of one's own. Patricia Fara here, which is looking at science and suffrage. Oh, you see that link there between the suffrage and suffrage in the first. This is a detail. Well, you tell us what it is. A detailed history of science. What do you do?
Well, it's a book about a small number of extraordinary women who are scientists and doctors and engineers during the First World War. And I must say I feel extraordinarily honoured to be given this book. I'm very, very grateful. And I must admit I was a bit surprised when I first heard, because I hadn't thought of this as a book about Cambridge. And then I started reflecting on it, and I realised that it is in two ways. Firstly, there weren't many universities for women to go to in the early 20th century, so a lot of women that I studied inevitably had been at Cambridge, at Newnham and at Girton. And secondly, I found out quite a lot about the military hospital that was on the site of where the Cambridge University Library is now, and that made me reflect a lot on how the war was affecting the whole of the city. Because if you think how far the railway station is from where the university library is now, and thousands and thousands and thousands of patients would come in on the train and be taken by horse-drawn cart right through the city up to the library where there was a huge field hospital. And Trinity Lawn, you know how precious Trinity is about their lawns? Their lawns were full of tents with soldiers in. So I think the war was very, very much present for Cambridge people as well. And when you read, it seems to me, when you read someone else's book, it looks as though they knew everything and they sort of sat down for a few weeks and they started at the beginning and they wrote it until they got to the end. Well, perhaps that's what other people do, but my experience is that you start off with a vague idea and then you find out something and it heads you in a particular direction, and then you find out something else and off you go. And actually I think it's very important to take advantage of those serendipitous opportunities to really be aware of what fate, chance throws up at you, because like that you do something original. So the fact that this is a book about Cambridge is due definitely to serendipity. The first opportunity came when I was in Newnham College archives about something completely different, because I'm normally an 18th century historian, and the archivist showed me a wonderful book that she had, which is about that big. It's completely handmade, it's got a hand-embroidered linen cover, beautiful thick creamy sheets, black and red letters, and it lists all the work that 600 and something Newnham women were doing during the war. And I looked through, and of course I found a lot of women who were working for the Red Cross, who were running committees, making sandwiches, all that sort of, nurses obviously. But then at the beginning there were several pages of women who were doing research into ballistics. They were explosive experts, they were carrying out experiments into vitamin preservation, they were working on the front in Serbia and other countries, and they had a whole load of foreign awards. So that got me very, very interested in them. So I went rushing off to the library, which is all what academics do. And I couldn't find out anything about them. And while I was thinking about it, there's my second serendipitous occasion occurred when I was walking past the university library, and I noticed a group of people painting an inscription. So I found out more about that inscription, and it turned out, that was how I found out about the hospital that had been on what is now the Cambridge University Library. And then I found, to my embarrassment, that actually it was my own college, Clare, that was encouraging this project to commemorate the hospital. So I'm very proud to say that Clare College has supported work on 2 different hospitals, because I am a fellow of Clare. And I met the woman who was organising it, and I got put on various committees. And I saw lots of photographs of what had been happening during the war. And I also heard a wonderful recording that was made by a woman in the 1970s. And during the First World War, she'd been a science undergraduate at Newnham College. And during the vacation, she decided to go along to the hospital and work as a volunteer. So they put her in the operating theatre. And after 2 weeks, she was put in charge of anaesthetics. This is that really brought it home to me. But I tell my students that, they're a bit stunned. And then one of the most moving things she said in the course of this interview was that after the war, so many of my friends had elder brothers who'd been killed that I decided I was going to drop sciences and I was going to become a doctor. And then she talked about the hardships she'd faced. It was very difficult for women to train as doctors during the war. So by the time those two different events had happened, I just realised I just had to write a book about all these women. And I found out about a lot of women who were doctors, they were engineers, they were X-ray specialists. Women were doing all sorts of things, both in this country and all over Europe, obviously in France, but also in Italy and also on the Eastern Front. And something that really strikes me is a lot of them were quite well known at the time, and I find it very surprising how they've been forgotten. I was just telling you about one woman who was at Cambridge. Her name was Ray Costello when she was here. She and her sister Karen were both at Newnham College. Ray Costello studied maths here, then she went to Oxford and did engineering. And while she was here, she organised and ran the first suffrage movement for the undergraduates, for Newnham and for Girton. So I'm sure she's discussed in Sue's book, which unfortunately I didn't have because she hadn't written it yet. And so she did all that suffrage work, and then she went to London and she became one of this country's main suffrage leaders. She organised hospitals in Serbia, she organised war work for women, she set up welding courses for women. She was very, very active, she wrote a lot of books, and she was very, very well known. And what really surprises me that nobody knows about her here now is that she married Lytton Strachey's brother, and her sister, Karen, married Virginia Woolf's brother. So these two women, the Costello sisters, are right in the middle of the Stracheys and the Stephens, the two big families of the Bloomsbury Circle that there's so much interest in. And they even lived in Bloomsbury Square, and nothing virtually has been written about them. But I think one of the very rewarding spin-offs out of this is our students, whether they're from the third year onwards, they have to do dissertations and long essays. And it's quite difficult to find them subjects that are manageable, and quite often they come and ask me to help them write a dissertation about one of the women that either that I've mentioned or that they've discovered since then. And of course, being based in Cambridge, they can take advantage of the university archives, and we also encourage them to take advantage of all the local archives there are as well. So I very much hope that in the forthcoming years, there's going to be far more information about all these women who were so active in Cambridge during the First World War. But in the meantime, thank you very, very much. I feel very, very honoured.